Technically, we're live now. Hey, I mean, I had to do this. Hey, Ginger. Hey, Andy.
Yes.
Welcome to Synapse Geeks on Screens with Coffee. And this is kind of an impromptu thing I thought I would put together. Shall we? Okay, let's see if we're live, properly live. Just in case I've made a mistake. Because that not that it's happened before, but it's happened before.
Right.
So like you remember to press record and all that.
Well, I see one device is streaming. Let's go with videos. Where's it streaming to? That's streaming somewhere. That's going to. We're on Facebook, and there's a couple of people on Periscope. That's going there, but trying to work out where on the YouTube channel that's going.
If it's not YouTube, it doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't. If I can't work out where we're going live, then how do we know we're live? Just manage videos. I thought I had it set up that whenever there was a live stream, it would appear at the top of the channel. How can I just mess this up? Up and coming live streams. I mean, we are on live, and there are people watching. Oh, someone's turned off Facebook now. There's a few more people on Periscope. Let's start talking, and I can work out how we are. What the YouTube link is. I thought I had the YouTube link. Let me try it. Yep, is it that? Come on. Come on, please work. So, Ginger, Andy, how are you? Welcome to this kind of impromptu thing. I wanted to talk about Azure Synapse Analytics because there's a lot of stuff that's just happened literally in the last couple of weeks. And I didn't know Andy before. He seemed to have hit.
Andy was the one who basically broke the news on Twitter that source control was out. So
yes.
Oh, well, I kind of. It did interrupt another piece. Yeah, it's this little drip feeder feature release that I think Microsoft are going for more of the viral strategy, where 5 people know, and then 10 people know, and then 20 people know, rather than the official documentation. And then they backdate the official documentation on the Synapse Analytics workspace. So
you noticed that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I've been logged in since November the 20th. So, and I've definitely updated November the 20th. All good though, all good.
So that stuff up the top. So that stuff there. So you can't. Yeah, can you guys see it? So they're the release notes that have been coming out. What I've been noticing is that not everything is appearing in here.
Yes.
And that's
day of it wasn't there.
So what isn't there?
I said as soon as Andy talked about it, I didn't see it.
Oh really?
Because I looked right there. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Doesn't matter, it's there now. But
I'm still trying to work out. We seem to be pushing stuff onto YouTube. It says it's online. I just can't seem to find the section. My sound, manage videos. All right.
You just have no idea what you're posting.
No. Well, we are going up. We're on Twitch and we're on something else. That is just the weird thing. Trying to work that out. So, Have you guys managed to play with it then? The source control and all these hidden features.
Yes, I have.
How's that gone?
So I've been there.
Well, I will say that GitHub is piece of cake easy. However, if you play around with the where you want the defaults and change it to something else after the fact, it breaks it. I did that just for fun to see what would happen if I changed the default that was selected for, like, I believe it's called like workspace, working load to main. If you do that, you'll break it, which is fun. And there's also something interesting with Azure DevOps. And I do say it's probably my account because it's just not able to appropriately find it. So it cannot find my Azure DevOps within Synapse to save its life. It doesn't like my URL. It only likes URLs that are, say, Visual Studio in them, even if they're wrong. So my URL doesn't say Visual Studio in it and it never would accept it.
I found the link.
But that may be my account.
All right, keep talking. I've just found the link. I'm going to tweet it out and then you can add it on.
What about you, Andy?
So I was trying to break it after Mark.
Don't try and break it.
Broken it, because that's the thing that worries me. So right, if you can break it, easily, how do you? It was something to do with the Synapse live view. So it's a little bit. It's essentially it's very similar to Data Factory's integration, in that yes, you link it in. You have your main your main collaboration branch. You've got your working branch, and if you then flick back to, let's say, the Data Factory pipeline, you'll get errors when you try and save and publish to say, well, look, you've integrated it with source control. You're now trying to work within the branch that it should be pushed to. So can you flick back to the working branch, which is what the source control in Synapse Analytics does. So I think once you publish into source control with your existing item, you then pretty much have to work exclusively in the working branch, because if you go back to the Synapse, it's called Synapse Live, I think, the tab from source control drop down. Be a no-no, because you won't be able to do anything. Those scripts will, they won't be deployable. They won't be able to be added in source control. So that was one of the things, and I think anybody who's been working within Data Factory source control will probably pick it up quite quickly, but it is a consideration. The other thing is the artifacts themselves. Now, I'm not sure what I was expecting, but when I am looking at SQL scripts, I don't know. I was expecting to see files, SQL extensions. So it's very much at the moment. It's when you're working with artifacts. So let's say SQL scripts within Studio, they exist, and when you check them into source control, they exist as JSON objects. So if you write a whole bunch of SQL in your SQL script, check that in. If you go to, let's say, I use Azure DevOps, so I would go to my Git repo in DevOps, and I can see the scripts there. And if you click in, you can see that they're JSON objects with various parameters inside. So, for example, if you've one of the new features that was added was folders. Now, you won't see the folder structure in Git. You'll see the folder that script lives in Synapse, but as a property in the document.
So let's have a look. So in here, yeah, folder. There you go.
You know, 3 or 4 folders in Synapse Analytics with various. Yeah, you get. Yeah. So basically, it's just some considerations and expectations in what you're going to see. So when you then, look at Git and see, oh, hang on a minute, why don't I have any .SQL scripts? It's because the SQL is within JSON, and the folder, so you can see there, folder SQL sat. So it's a consideration that the metadata for those files and the content. Having said that, I've not managed to break it so far.
So far,
we'll try.
I like that. All right.
I will say that I'm with you. I was kind of disappointed that it was JSON and not SQL, because I saved it as SQL. Why do I get JSON? And it would be nice if it was in the format in which you created it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can get that, because obviously when it's in here, I guess to hear this UI doesn't really care. It only knows because of these are all just JSON files, rather than SQL. Because effectively what you're saying when you do that is it's just, you're not actually saying it's a .SQL file. You're saying it's just a SQL script, which denotes what kind of editor you get more than anything, I guess. I'm not trying to justify it, but it does sound like I'm trying to justify it, doesn't it?
No.
So I am trying to justify it.
It's the file. Yeah, the file itself says, look, this is my contents, and this is how you would display it. So, yeah. So well,
it's changing my data because I saved a SQL data and it's giving me JSON. So it's not what I saved. It's translating it.
Yeah. And it might give you some funny things when you do merges with source control.
Definition.
Yeah. Maybe that's just something they can put in as a change or an option at a later point. I don't know, kind of.
And because and I was going to say the next someone will ask the question, well, can I, am I going to be able to download my artifacts into a project in Azure Data Studio? Am I going to be able to work with notebooks and SQL scripts and check that? Because at the moment, yes, you would be able to view that repository within, let's say, Azure Data Studio with Git integration, but you're not going to be able to do anything, because you could open the JSON and see the SQL in there, but it's not going to be elegant. So maybe some project templates at some stage, but this is what, a week old?
Oh yeah. yeah. I mean, we've only just started seeing this. I mean, obviously it's been saving that in this format for a while, but it's a fact that we can now get access to it. I did see someone ask where were these being saved, because they wanted to try and pull them out and export them before the source control. It was that question, and then when is the source control coming? And there's no export, but there is an import. Right. I wanted to. There's some.
I will say that.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, but I mean, on that note, I know that a client, and they said no source control. There's no possible way we could use this product. Right. We can't do that if we have no source control. And they were primarily worried about the integration that they had in ADF. So as flawed as it may be, I'm still very happy that it's there.
So there's a couple of new things that appeared on this menu when you go into the workspace. And that was SQL auditing. Hurrah! We've been waiting for that for a little while. And which is just the standard auditing. There is one downside about auditing, and I bet you it will trip me up on it. If I pick one of these, it will whinge because I have hierarchical namespaces turned on. Yeah. It's got to be a blob rather than ADLS. But that's just a feature. But it's added in. And then this name freaks me out. Azure Defender for SQL. And Ginger, you went, well, why would that freak me out? It's because if you go and have a look on my other server, on my standard data warehouse, it's called Security Center on there.
Yes,
I love the name of your server,
that's
by
what
the way.
it's sausages.
There's a history to it.
I assume we shouldn't watch it being made.
No. It's it was a bit like a session like this where I was demoing some stuff, and so I just went to the customer to prove there's no magic or there's nothing up my sleeves. You tell me the name of the server. You tell me everything we're going to create. And they said sausages, so it became sausages. And now I just stick with it. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah, well, okay. No, it's fine. So, what's interesting, so Azure Defender for SQL. So, yes, originally that would be Security Center. And in fact, if I browse to a regular Azure SQL logical server that I have, you still have Security Center as the tab in security. However, the contents are tagged as Azure Defender for SQL. So Azure Defender for SQL costs 11 point blah 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 per server per month. So is Security Center, so is Azure Defender now the name for the SQL implementation to Security Center?
Well, that does align it to Windows Defender, on your PC, which is for viruses, but I don't know if they necessarily wanted to go there, but they did.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, it's Security Center, right?
Yeah.
So we've got advanced threat protection settings. We've got scan reports. Now, the threat protection types, SQL injection, data exfiltration.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing to clarify then, is it covering both serverless and dedicated SQL pools?
No, it is for just SQL pools only, correct?
Yeah, there you go. Put that.
Dedicated SQL pools, yeah.
No,
so I actually read the release on this, and they said that you should be protecting your data in unstructured in serverless pools by using the security on your data lake.
There we go.
Which isn't really the same, but there you go.
So I don't know whether you guys can see the chat. So Rob Farley's just jumping in. Just he doesn't like the name Defender. All right, let's do...
It does give off vibes of Defender on my laptop.
All right. So there was a couple of other little things that I noticed. So those two were new. If we jump into the workspace, there was a couple of things that got added into the release notes. So the new notebook experience. Have you played with that, either of you? Because I haven't. No,
I have not.
Oh, okay.
There was, yes, essentially, I mean, they're, so it's a Spark notebooks, and it's essentially, you flip the preview on, and it'll give you certain features that weren't available, but it'll also turn other features off. So if you click on Learn More.
Sorry, I was just replying to Rob Farley's message. I think we've answered it, but I was just going to type an answer in. Sorry, self-moderation. I should let you drive. There we go. So this is what is supported in the preview. I did have a look at this.
Yeah, there you go. You can basically, so Hustle and preview. So once you switch preview features on, you'll get you'll get that list and not the other.
Yeah. Right. So there's quite a big.
But I'm not too savvy with Spark notebooks.
No, I've not played with those too much. I've only played with them when I really needed to, kind of just when I've just used the scripts to automatically do things. We've had a chat about Git or the new monitoring experience. I was playing with that. Anyone had a chance to look at that?
As in,
so if you go down to monitor here,
SQL requests.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is cool. I looked at that.
Yeah, it's also historical as well. I don't know how far back it goes, but queries on SQL Serverless seem to go back,
let's have a look.
a good few days.
So what I worked out is because you can see what the queries that have executed. Where's it gone? I'll type it in from scratch. All right, let's do a new script.
Rumors of a new DMV, did you say?
Yeah, so there is select star from. Oh, come on. Sorry. Select star from sysdm. I was going to say PDW exec request. It's not. Sorry. Just exec request, and then it's history. And it wasn't because I've got any inside information. Is that I was looking at the monitor, the log, oh yeah, sorry.
Is it plural or is it exec request or
Yeah. So this is the one for what you can do is you can because everything gets chucked in DM exec requests. What you can do is, so the reason why I found out about this is I was having a dig through DM exec requests. And you can see the queries that that UI, the monitor UI, is throwing in. And we need to order by start something, start time descending. And then there is this rather long query we can find. Obviously, I was doing this via Management Studio because it's a lot easier. But on the web chat, it would just be more effort to switch to it. So we can pull out the SQL that's being run. Oh yeah, we have to join this with another DMV, and we can see what SQL is being run, and then we can basically just view the SQL from this DMV, this UI request. And then all I did was dig that out, and then I worked out that it's unioning DM exec requests and DM exec request history to produce this.
Right.
And it goes back that's to the 22nd, and you'll also see this new value, data processed, and then that links back in directly to the cost management. So you can actually go, if I was a different user, potentially I could say how much data have I used up and how much data has other people queried.
Have you looked at the new Spark monitoring too?
No. Shall we have a look? I'm gonna have to do something in Spark then, aren't I?
Yeah, one of the things is that you can go down to a much further level than you could in the past. You could go all the way down to the Spark debug menu for anything that you run. It's kind of cool.
Is that something we can show quickly, or is that a bit too much? effort.
How's your how are your data frames in Python, Mark?
Yeah, if you have just like run a Python data frame, doesn't have to be that big of a deal.
Oh yeah, I'll run the Python data frame. Yeah, I mean I could do, but
you just have to wait 4 minutes for the pools to warm up.
Yeah, no, yes. I mean, what I would do is I would just go and find the file in here, and I would just then spin the pool up. But yeah, we could be waiting 5 minutes. It's probably not worth it. But you've been playing with it then, and you found it's.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I'm like, wow, you go a lot further on the messaging than you did in the past. So I'm like, that's cool.
Okay, what else was new?
Well, stored procedures.
Yes, you know what? Someone did a video about that. So
That's cool.
Do you know what? I stumbled across that because I was looking at some documentation, and it went stored procedures in dedicated and serverless pools and blah blah blah. And I went, wait, it's not there yet.
Yeah.
No.
Is that a misprint? Is that a misprint? Can I?
And unless it's being added in, no. See, it's the UI needs to be updated, but they do exist because you can call them.
Well, okay. Yes. So wait a minute. So let's say that you write one. Where is it?
So it's not viewable currently in the UI. It's not under was it programmable objects. So you'd see programming here as a folder in Management Studio, so you can see it in Management Studio. You can't see it in the UI. You can't see it in Azure Data Studio. So I'm assuming it's an object that needs adding. But if you run the create or alter syntax for stored procedures in Studio or SSMS, it'll create stored procedures fine, as long as you haven't got. And this is, I've only really been able to play around a little bit today, but obviously you don't get a lot of the constructs like table variables, etc. So I think orchestration in terms of, let's say you're processing data in the data lake, and maybe you've got mini ETL jobs to then crunch that data and save to external tables, which is going to save it to the data lake for picking up further downstream. So yes, at the moment they're not visible here, but they exist. So at some stage when they backdate the documentation, I'm sure it'll appear. What I haven't done is see if those stored procedures, and I can't see why they wouldn't be, triggerable from pipelines.
Well, here's a question: do you see them in source control? Have you looked there?
Well, if they're create, well, if I've got the script in my develop tab with the create syntax, then yes, that's going to be in source control. So the database, so the database and the objects itself won't be in source control, but the scripts to create them will be, if I've linked it in source control.
Yes. Yeah. So if
that makes sense. Because source control at the moment in Synapse is not at the database level. It's the. But let me have a little look while you
I don't know what. Yeah, because it isn't the database that's in source control. It is just the creates. Now you can see the stored procedures. I didn't try Data Studio, but they are in Management Studio, so you can see them. Right click, create, do all that nonsense.
Yeah.
I do present on. Is it present on to get Management Studio in presenter mode? I can never remember what that's it. It's up there. It's present on. Present on.
Yeah, it's present on.
I'm just. So it goes.
I always just change it though because I don't like the settings.
Okay.
Change it to 150 and then go in and change the results to something greater than 8.
Okay, so we're on this window. I need to I think that, so this might work. Nope, everything's gone black. The background disappeared. I need to change this to look at. Okay. All right, so we've just switched over to Management Studio. You guys see it? I could have pre-done this as well, couldn't I, in the background?
Hey, but this is a live show.
You can certainly tell it's
Live
a live
TV.
show, can't you?
It's good enough for Keith Chegwin back in the day.
I'm sure that's a reference that Ginger won't get.
No, what?
Who would?
What's
Keith...
the reference?
Classic.
So there used to be certain live TV shows in the UK, and Keith Chegwin and a few other people were kind of the presenters who would do them.
Oh yeah, I don't think anything was pre-recorded with those. With the 80s presenters, was it?
No.
Maybe.
It's expensive to pre-record. So I think it was in here. I put them, and then I had a couple.
Oh well, this is cool. You can see them.
Yeah.
I did try this.
And you got the modify and execute. Obviously, it's still not super quick because it's still kind of going against your on-demand cluster. I was doing some testing. So how fast is SQL on demand? How fast is serverless pools if I'm pulling a file out compared with the cost of having a provision pool, a dedicated pool? So if I was
going to say provision pools have to be more.
Well, where's the data sitting? Are you saying using provisioned SQL pools to pull data from the data lake using Polybase?
Yeah. Because I was looking at the cost, and effectively the cost of running a DW100, and I was looking at the performance. Haven't finished, but that's what I was trying to test. So you can go with SQL on demand or go with Polybase. And where is the switch over where provision pools are going to be faster? And if I was just playing around to see, because people are going to ask. But you can do.
Do you have any idea? I was thinking that provision pools would be more expensive.
Well, yeah. So you're what, a pound an hour? Well, if you weren't reserving 1 or 3 a year, so you're looking at £1/$1 an hour.
Yeah.
Just to run DW 100. I mean, that's still 60 gig of RAM. Obviously, the use case for Polybase is loading data into dedicated SQL pool rather than pass through, which is SQL Serverless's job.
Well, I was just thinking that you'd imagine serverless would be cheaper, but would take longer. So it takes quite a long time to pull. I think a 700 meg file was taking about 7 minutes to pull it into Power BI, and so
really. Well, there's a couple of moving parts there. How are you pulling it into Power BI though? Because Power BI has got to do some work on its side.
Yes.
So
I did something, a blog this week, which was around using SQL Serverless and data flows. And of course, when you're pulling data in to Power BI, it's not able to push the query down to the source system, i.e. the SQL query down to serverless. It has to do a lot of the transformation work itself. So it depends what you were doing within Power BI. I mean, I could see when I triggered the refresh of the data flow, i.e. the Power Query process, switching to the new query monitor, it had already completed returning the data to Power BI. Power BI was then doing its thing. So I don't know whether that's something to consider. But I mean, that's the whole point of SQL Serverless, and that's why they rewrote the engine. This Polaris engine is the processing scale should be such that, I mean, I guess there's going to be overhead in terms of, like, let's say Spark, there's a certain amount of overhead at the beginning of processing. Perhaps it's the same here.
Yeah, you've got to remember that the serverless is different in the first time you query the stuff. You won't have stats, and you only have stats on Parquet. Then you only know how big the query is from when you've done your first initial query to get the stats and build the stats, to then know what size cluster to then run it on. There's a couple of moving bits. Actually, there was something interesting that I did spot, and I think I will video that separately, is that when I was running my a 7-minute query from Power BI, 2 items would appear in monitor. And I'd get effectively the query and a short version of it, the same query ID, a short version of it, and then a longer version of it, which was then clicking up time. And I could see, that query just going and going and going. And then once it's finished, that thing that may be running for 5-10 minutes disappears. And then I only had the kind of the short version of it. So I think it's probably just a preview issue.
Hey, since we're talking about features that got added, really happy that CSVs, now you can get the headers to work on them when you read them in. That saves some time.
Oh, what with the V2 or the parser?
Yeah, because now you can specify, the header and you're good. Whereas before that only worked with Parquet. You had to use a with statement to put all of your column names on if it was CSV.
Yeah, so there's no explicit. Well, you don't have to explicitly call out the schema. Well,
yes, which is awesome, and that's kind of cool. Really appreciate that.
So, well, as far as I'm aware, it will run faster if it doesn't have to guess the schema. So there is a command you can run with the select star with none of the schema, and it will then dump out what the schema should be. So it'll dump out all the columns with the data types, and then you can then and it'll do varchar 8000 or whatever for text and stuff. It will choose it will choose whatever it thinks is kind of reasonable, and then you can specify the right ones. But if you're letting it do its own thing, strings are 8,000 characters. And it's going to be nasty, and your queries, it's going to allocate more memory for that query than it really needs, and then it's not going to run as fast as it could do. So I know it's easier to go not have to specify it, but I can't remember what the I think it was in the best practices. I do Azure SQL. Oh. Yeah, SQL DW release notes somewhere down on the left-hand side. We switch over.
We can't see it.
Yeah. Switch there underneath SQL. That one there, I think.
There we go.
Is it overview? Yeah. If you look under there for the serverless. Oh, I don't know. There we go. Serverless best practices there. And then there's stuff about appropriate data types. And then there's this. Can you see that? Describe first result set.
Yep.
And then, so even doing that on Parquet, because Parquet just guesses again, like it does. So I thought Parquet had the width of the whatever's in there. It doesn't. It just has a data type. So it's going to make Parquet run faster.
This is good to know. I'm glad you brought this up. So I'll be continue not to be lazy, since I'm used to having to deal with all that CSV anyway. So what the heck?
So I used this to generate what it needed to be, and then I started using this because having to it was like 80 columns or something, and I wasn't going to do those by hand, but they all come out with
the typing's a pain.
Yeah, C1, C2, C3, and then I just dumped it into Excel. And then I just made a little Excel thing to just generate the what it needs to be. But it's well worth having a look at that, and I'm pretty sure this will get updated. Do you know what you might not have noticed? That with the open row set, you can do the push down predicates into the file system. With you can just say where file path *1 or whatever is equal to something, and then it filters out everything that doesn't equal that value, so it doesn't read everything in. That doesn't work on if you do an external table.
What, and then select from the external table?
Yeah, so it doesn't work.
Oh, I never tried it.
Oh,
good to know.
Well, that sort of makes sense, because when you create the external table, you're giving it a location.
But you can have folders within an external table. So that's one of the cool things that you can do, is you can just create a view or external table in serverless, and over the same location in provision pool, you can have an external table that goes over the same thing. And which is why you can actually do your testing quite well, because it's exactly the same file,
right,
in the same storage account in the same location. So I was playing with that. So what else have you guys been playing with? Because that was everything that I had.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like the metadata is exposed in integrating pipelines in Synapse or in Data Factory to be able to see a stored procedure, and you can't even see the SQL serverless database definition itself. So hopefully they'll add that in at some stage.
I thought that was there.
Because there's a SQL pool stored procedure native task under Synapse, but it wants a dedicated link service, dedicated pool link service.
Oh, what to use this? Yes. Oh, I see what you mean. This is just a normal thing, isn't it? But that's fine, because you can still add in. You can still add it in. Without. So I can still create a linked service. Because that will. Yeah, you have to put a separate one there. Okay, I see what you mean.
Hey, I have a question.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. I have a question, though, for you about pipelines. Who thought that copying meant that if you modified either one of them, they changed, by the way? That's a freaking nightmare.
Explain.
Did you ever play with that?
No. What, copy activity?
So if you clone a pipeline.
Oh, okay.
And then you modify the new one, they both get modified.
Oh.
And
really?
Oh, by the way, that screwed me over because, in the days before we had source control, last week, I did that so that I wouldn't modify what was running in production. I never in a million years thought that if I did a clone, both would be modified unless I renamed everything.
Yeah, I would not imagine.
That's a nightmare, and I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but don't, for anybody who doesn't know this, if you clone something, then you modify it. Both are modified unless you go in and change the names of everything first.
That's funny. I've got a copy data task. I'm changing some attributes, but it's not.
Yeah, I did that with the clone, and it modified both of them.
Oh. Okay. I would have said that's probably. Is that normal ADF or is that just integrate?
not normal in my world. I'm not
yeah,
that.
is it?
Yeah, but still.
Was it pipelines within Synapse Studio though, rather than Data Factory itself? Was that on the Integrate tab in Studio?
All in Synapse.
Okay.
I cloned it. It did it both places, and I have a recording of this. So if it's not working now, I guarantee you it's busted a couple weeks ago, and it had been for months. So yeah. And I haven't tried it recently, so I don't know if it still works that way, but I sure wish it didn't.
No, that's not great.
No.
The only other interesting feature that I haven't yet, which is no good for this video, is it? I haven't yet managed to do it, is the AutoML has been updated. So I'd like to see see how that's now, what they've done.
Okay, so I did play with that. So have you played with AutoML in the past?
Through machine learning service, yes, but I've never integrated it into an object in Synapse. Right.
So I did that. The cool thing that was really added with ML is that you can now add the SC, the Spark context, because previously when you were doing it in Azure Machine Learning, it wasn't running in Spark. So it wasn't really multiprocessing that well. There was some multiprocessing, but it wasn't that good. So I believe to me, it appears faster. And it works just like it would if you were doing it within Azure Machine Learning. So it doesn't have you can't like bounce into the Azure Machine Learning environment. That's like the only difference. But it gives you the whole like, hey, here's your environment. And if you go to Azure Machine Learning while it's running, you can see what it's doing. So I kind of like playing with that part of it. So.
Okay.
Has anyone got the?
But I did the code part. I didn't do the UI part.
That's for me with new features.
Synapse. There's some event. Is it Synapse 3rd December?
Yes, and it's a big event because our very own Simon's speaking in it. Us lowly peeps weren't invited, but Simon's speaking in it.
What?
And so is Satya Nadella.
Is this the one where they announce what they've done with the data catalog service?
Sorry, you're going.
I don't know.
Going through a bit of a tunnel at the moment. I can't hear you. Can't pick up anything. I can't remember what the link is. There's some. There's a I can't know. I don't know what the description is, but I don't know what's going to be announced, but it's certainly going to be interesting. And it's the 3rd.
I know that Satya Nadella is headnoting that one.
And I think Rohan is presenting a bit on it. So it must be very significant if Satya's pushing stuff out.
Look for Shape Your Future with Azure Data and Analytics. Because yes, I signed up for it.
Shape Your Future.
I don't know if you can see it. I put it in chat.
Okay.
Yeah, so it looks like it's 5 p.m. It's 5 p.m. UK time. So it's an hour and a half.
There we go. That's it. I think so. Data governance, the Azure Data Governance Service. Is that what you're referring to? But we'll see what's going to happen.
Yes, I mean, yeah.
I signed up.
Yep, so have I. And everybody needs to sign up. So what time?
I was going to say you should put the link in there.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the YouTube chat. I need to do it on the other machine. So that was everything I had. Well, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Ginger, for indulging me and for jumping on a call.
Thank you for the very impromptu idea.
Yeah, very good. I'd be doing nothing else on a Sunday night.
Don't. You're not supposed to make me feel sorry for you.
I was gonna say, I just finished doing some Synapse recording, so I was lounging on the couch on Twitter.
Yes. Oh, you were, and then we disturbed your afternoon.
You know, what else? I've been talking about Synapse all day. Now I get to talk to people. Wow. Instead of just a microphone.
All right. So
That's better.
We could do this again. I don't know when's a good time, but it'd be interesting to see what happens on the 3rd, and if you've got anything interesting to share. You know, I thought this might be more fun than me trying to sneak out.
I'm now compelled to take notes.
No, I did think I could sneak another video out, but wouldn't it be more fun to talk about it with someone else, with real humans?
Yeah, it would be. It certainly is.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, man, schedule something for Friday after this happens.
Yeah.
Unless you're drinking Friday and can make it.
No. How dare you? How very dare you?
Took you a while.
It did, yes.
Well,
I mean, it's a school night tonight. Friday's not a school night. That's all I can say.
True.
Yeah. All right. So no other messages. Oh, thank you, Johan, for watching. Thank you for Rob for watching, and anyone else who was watching. And I will speak to you again. Oh, and there's some more Geeks on Screens next week. Right. I should advertise that, shouldn't I? I should push that. Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah, push your channel, dude.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Do you know what?
Down below, right?
Yeah, spank that like button or whatever you do to it. I don't know.
Yeah,
we don't do that here.
Yeah, you need to up your YouTube banner game. You need to put the banner big. You need to, you need to push that.
I'm only aiming for one viewer, really, and that's it. So I get one viewer, I'm fine. Aim small, and you can't fail.
There you go.
Yes.
And we got Rob, so
Yeah.
That's one viewer.
And and you've got Simon Whiteley's videos that are kind of with higher production values than mine. We will fight for the production values, but they are significantly higher than mine. But
well, you are using OBS though.
They are excellent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and his setup did cost a little bit more than mine as well. Yeah, we're talking about you, Simon. We know your ears are burning. All right, time to go. Thank you, guys. And we're going to do showbiz goodbye. Bye, everyone. And we are stopping streaming.